Hey guys, Jason from The Glitter Guy here, and if you're here, then you are trying to watch the tutorial to the December 2023 Quack Pack. Either that or you're just very lost. Either way, welcome. I'll just go over briefly the things that came in the box that we'll be utilizing to do the version of the craft that I'm going to do. I know I've said it in previous boxes in the past, but I try to incorporate at least another version, or at least make it an open concept so that you can kind of come up with your own version on your own. This craft specifically, we are making a Oreo cookie caddy dunking cup, okay? So the whole idea of this is that when we're all done, this is gonna look like a nutcracker is holding this basket of cookies. And this is 3D printed and shaped very specifically to fit Oreos perfectly. Included in the way that I'm gonna do it, so your box came with some vinyl cut versions, which should be sized to the tumbler. They come out to be a smidgen on the large side. I do that on purpose so that you guys have that little extra room of play when you apply it, and then can go back with a tumbler trimmer or a razor blade, whatever you so choose, and clean up the edges. But either way, you have a big D version that you can do. You have a more traditional nutcracker version that you can do, or you can go scan the QR code that came in your insert card and download the free SVG that I included, and then cut your piece of tacky tape out that came in the box as well. That's what we're gonna do for this, because overall, after we decorate this tacky tape and apply it to the tumbler, it's gonna be roughly the same concept as if we did just the vinyl alone. So I figured why not just do the more involved one, and then you guys will understand how to do the others. I know I've had a whole lot of questions on different posts on Facebook. Sometimes we get emails with questions. What's the best way to apply the tacky tape to the tumbler if you didn't apply it first? Like if you glitter it first, do you apply it first? I personally like to glitter mine flat. I think that you get a better look and it's a little bit easier to work with, but it can be a little tricky to apply if your machine decided to cut a little deep in any areas. And this is not my idea. This is, I took a suggestion from, I don't know who at this point, but I know it's been suggested honestly a couple times. So I applied this already to white vinyl. I ran it through my Cricut Maker 3, rice paper. Set it to rice paper for the material setting, and it will give you the best cuts for tacky tape every single time. It definitely simplifies the process in more ways than one. One, it makes so that your pattern, even if it cuts a little bit deep, you're gonna be fine because you have a vinyl backing under there. It can be honestly whatever color that you would have wanted to base your tumbler out. If you wanted it to be a black base, then use scrap black vinyl. The size of this cut for the pattern is 9.75 inches wide by it's like between 5.5 and 5 3/4. So I think it's like 5.66 inches high, something like that. That's how big the tacky tape is. The pattern itself is actually 5 1/4, but I made the cuts about a 1/2 inch wider and higher so that you have that little extra room of play for your machine when you load it onto the mat. We are going to do a little prep work before we actually start the tacky tape, just because I have a battery powered hot glue gun, so I let that warm ahead of time. You can use super glue if you want to, doesn't matter. The whole point is that we're going to be affixing our magnets to our 3D printed pieces. The magnets, guys, I wanted to include magnets for this. I think like one of the things that stresses me out about when I'm coming up with the crafts for these boxes is making sure that you have as many, if not all of the tools possible to complete the craft from start to finish. The magnets is absolutely necessary for this craft to work, but I absolutely could not make it work to include it in the box. And I'm super sorry for that, but they are not very expensive. There's a link to the Amazon listing where I bought my specific ones. If you have magnets on hand, great. These are 20 by 2 millimeter round neodymium magnets, and that's what these were sized for, these pieces. So if you see the 20 by 2 fits in there just perfectly. You need four magnets to do this craft, okay? And an important part about this prep portion is making sure that before you glue them in, you make sure that the polarities is like that attraction, the negative positive side of a magnet, you want them facing the correct way, that they're going to be attracting the cup caddy to the tumbler and not repelling it. I know this because I accidentally glued one of my magnets in on my test one when I was coming up with this whole process backwards, and it just kept wanting to push my caddy off. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I had to go back in there and pry the glue out. Don't do that. So the way that I did it, to take the two magnets, right? Make sure they're attracting like so. We know that we want it to stick to our tumbler, right? So whichever way we want it to go, that's how we want it to attract. So make sure that these get glued just like so, right? These sandwiching, they wanna be friends. We're gonna pull them apart, but we're gonna keep them facing the same way. So I'm gonna go right flat down. That's the side we want it out, right? Just like this. So we're gonna make sure that we glue it just like that. You could mark it. I'm just gonna do it as we go. You could definitely grab a marker and mark the side so that you don't screw it up if you go and put it down. But I figure since it's getting glued in right away, if I just hold it the right way, there should be a little bit of play in the divot, like the divot for the magnet's a little bit deep so that you have room for the glue in there and it can still sit flush. So we still want this to be sitting flat. If you guys own one of these Ryobi battery powered hot glue guns, lava comes out the ends of this thing. It literally, it's so hot that it heats the entire magnet up. It's hot to like touch the magnet when you go to push it in. I've seen the reviews on it where people are like, the glue gun does not need to be that hot. If you got, I don't even know if the camera's picking it up, but it's steaming right now. Just the heat of the glue is just steaming off of the tip. Two more magnets. They should want to be friends and not push away. Mission accomplished. And just in case, you may have actually applied it to where it'll want to go on one way, but not the other. That's possible. I did have that with one. That just make sure that you check. Mine either way is okay this time. Make sure you check that though before you glue this piece. So those are prepped and ready. And now we're going to move on to our tacky tape. Instead of glitter, we're gonna do mica powder for the tacky tape, but the process for applying it is gonna be the same. We wanna go dark. Now your box should have included either a blue or a yellow mica powder, likely blue. We are going to use the blue for the shirt. We're going to do blue as well for the arms. We're gonna do yellow for the sleeves. All right, so we will use micas for the majority, and then I'm gonna use glitter for a couple of the colors just because I don't have shades of mica that honestly will satisfy the color scheme that I want. So we're gonna start with the black pearl mica powder. My tweezies. Mustachio. Take one of our little brushes. Nice. Dark, dark, dark to light. Blue shirt. I'm gonna use hot crustacean band, guys, for the arms, because this particular file that I made, I didn't make outline strokes. That's okay, I think it's still gonna look good. I like that. Now let's do the yellow. So I'm gonna do the yellow for his crown. And also for his shoulder pads. Gotta let it show. Let's do his nose, his rosy cheeks, his skin, and then last but not least, the white parts. Another great skin tone glitter color is Vanilla Wafer. If you have Vanilla Wafer and don't have Strawbana, or if you have both and are just looking for another option, Vanilla Wafer is normally my go-to. I like Strawbana specifically for this project because it adds a little bit of like festive mix. Forgot his little hands. The whites of his eyes and the white of his crown. All right, guys, so I'm going to hit this quick with some spray sealer, and then while that dries, we're gonna continue on and paint our little magnetic pieces. All right, guys, we have our tacky tape sheet drying. In the meantime, we're gonna paint our inserts. I grabbed some blue paint since he's got a blue jacket. After we have our pieces painted, we'll go and grab our tacky tape sheet. It should be dry. Get it applied to the tumbler. Get these pieces glued on, and we should be ready for epoxy at that point. So let's spray paint our caddy, and we'll grab our tacky tape sheet on our way back in, and hopefully that'll be just about dry enough to get applied to the tumbler. Our nutcracker is pretty dry enough for me to want to keep moving forward. Scooch this. Shouldn't have done it right in the middle of my area. Like I mentioned before, guys, the vinyl and the tacky tape design are sized a smidgen on the high and wide side so that you guys can trim them exact. So you have the option here if you want to center the wrap on the tumbler and then trim the top a little and the bottom a little. You can put all the slack down the bottom or put all slack down the top and then just trim once as well. Either way, what I'm gonna do this time is I'm gonna push all the slack to the top, and we'll end up just trimming a smidgen off of his crown. Because we pre-applied this to some white vinyl, there's no need to base our tumbler out. It's the same as painting the tumbler white, which saves you some time there. I want mine to be down low like so. People do make, and we do own, tumbler cradles to help you apply vinyl. Sarah just is commandeered all of them. So we'll do this the more manual way. Same thing with tumbler trimmers. If you want to have a nice clean trimmed line at the top and or bottom of your tumbler. So I get Jason's trimmer right here. Trim the top. So there is our nutcracker that will be holding the caddy shortly. Our blue paint's mostly dry, still a little bit of wet spots. We'll just use our fingers. It's just some of this excess paint is taking longer to dry. So we'll wipe it off. Now we just need a little bit of yellow. Pleased with that outcome. So even while this dries, I'm not that worried about it because I'll just make sure not to touch the yellow part. We're going to take our hot glue, put a generous amount on the back, not enough that it's going to squeeze out the sides. Line it up with your rectangle because it should be pretty dang close to the size you're looking for. Stick. Okay, you should end up looking something like that. And the hot glue is just to hold it until we get to the epoxy process. The hot glue will hold it pretty good, not permanently. When we epoxy everything, it will become one unit. Should have great success with holding cookies. All right, guys, so we're gonna put a coat of fast cast on this, Project Epoxy Fast Cast. It'll take like, I don't know, under 2 hours for sure to be dry. We'll see how she's looking after that. And we should be able to go and grab our basket at that point then. The paint should be well dry enough. Click her on and see what the finished nutcracker looks like. All right, guys, so it's been like an hour and a half. He's pretty dry. He's still, honestly, all full transparency, he's slightly tacky. But I just wanted to make sure that I show you guys the actual finished look, I guess you could say. So our basket's painted, we're all magneted up, we got the epoxy over, and then now, without further ado, we can just magnetize his basket. So there he is in all of his magnetic glory. Oreos go here, and then that way you can also take this on the go with you and not feel like it's got this big, awkward, bulky cup caddy piece. I really liked the concept of this because I feel like you guys ain't done this before because it came right out of my head. I want to keep trying to come up with cool, unique crafts like this in the future. So if you enjoyed this, if you think you might enjoy crafts like this, definitely stay subscribed to the sub box and look forward to February's in the future. All right, guys, thanks. See ya.